I was behind the wheel, driving my wife and her girlfriends to a spa retreat they'd been planning for a while. Out of nowhere, I heard her voice from the back seat say, "Honestly, he's like a rescue dog. Feed him a little, he wags his tail. So easy to train." The whole car went dead quiet for a second, then came the laughter. When we pulled up to the spa, she didn't even glance my way or say thanks. Just slammed the door behind her and threw out, "Make sure to wash the sheets before I get back. They smell like you." That stung. I spent the 3-hour drive home in complete silence, trying to wrap my head around it. Yesterday, she showed up out of the blue, crying on my doorstep, begging me to just talk to her. I don't even know where to begin. I'm still trying to process everything that went down over the weekend. My hands are literally trembling while I type this out. Madison and I have been married 7 years. We're both in our mid-30s. I really thought we were doing okay. Not amazing, sure, but fine. Normal. Friday morning started off like any other. I got up around 6 a.m., brewed some coffee, and sat scrolling through my phone while she kept sleeping. That's been our routine for a while now, separate mornings. She says my early schedule messes with her sleep, so we set different alarms. No big deal. If it helps avoid fights, I'm all for it. Around 7:40, I heard her upstairs, phone music blasting, getting packed for this spa trip with her friends. She's been looking forward to it for months. And honestly, I was happy for her. Everyone needs a little break now and then. She came downstairs carrying that designer handbag I got her for our last anniversary, the one that cost more than I shell out for my car each month. As she adjusted the strap on her shoulder, she casually mentioned that her friend's husband had bailed on driving them. Then she looked at me and asked, "Could you take us?" Just a simple 4-hour drive there, and then I'd have the rest of the weekend free. I paused. That's a long round trip for one day, and I already had plans to meet up with Jason for our regular Saturday bowling game. Still, Madison tilted her head and gave me that familiar look, the one she knows I can't say no to. I caved, like I always do. That part's going to matter later. So by 9 a.m., I'm behind the wheel with Madison in the passenger seat and her 3 friends, Amanda, Brittany, and Megan, packed into the back seat with their bags and snacks crammed in around them. The first hour was smooth enough. We had some music going, and they were all chatting away about everyday stuff. I kept to myself, eyes on the road, while they laughed and gossiped about people I didn't recognize. By around 2 in the afternoon, they'd gone through 2 bottles of wine. Not enough to get them drunk, but just enough to turn up the volume and start acting like I wasn't even there. That's when it happened. The conversation shifted to relationships. Amanda started venting about how her boyfriend never listens and how she's constantly having to repeat herself just to get anything done. And then Madison jumped in. "Honestly," she said, loud and clear, "he's like a rescue dog. Feed him a little, and he's wagging his tail. So easy to control." For a few seconds, the car was dead silent, like the air had been sucked out. And then they all cracked up. Every single one of them. I could feel the pressure in my chest as my hands clenched tighter around the steering wheel. My knuckles went white, but I didn't say a word. I just kept my eyes on the road like nothing had happened, even though I could feel the heat crawling up my neck and into my face. I'm pretty sure I was turning red. Maybe they realized I'd heard everything, because the conversation shifted pretty quickly after that. But honestly, the damage was already done. For the next hour, those words just played on a loop in my head. A rescue dog. So easy to control. 7 years, 7 damn years together. And that's what I meant to her? Just some pathetic creature she thinks she's trained? I kept the car moving, only speaking when I absolutely had to, giving short one-word answers. But inside, I was frozen, numb. Eventually, we pulled up to this luxury mountain resort. One of those places that probably charges more per night than I pay for a whole month of my mortgage. Madison and her friends piled out, suitcases in hand. I went to help them unload, but they were already on it like I wasn't even there. Madison didn't even glance my way. She just tossed a comment over her shoulder. "Make sure to wash the towels before I get back. They stink like you." And then she laughed. They all laughed. I just stood there beside the car, surrounded by people checking in and checking out, like the world was moving and I wasn't. It felt like someone had walked up and slapped me across the face. 7 years together. And she couldn't even say thank you after I spent 8 straight hours driving for her. That ride home, longest 4 hours of my life. No music, no podcasts, just me, the sound of the tires on the pavement, and a head full of thoughts on a dark, empty highway. Every memory started playing back. Conversations, arguments, all the little compromises we'd made over the years. But this time, I was seeing everything through a different lens. Had she been manipulating me all along? I thought about the time I gave up my weekly hangouts with the guys because she said it was immature. Or how we always, without fail, spent the holidays with her family, since mine was apparently too chaotic. And what about when I got that year-end bonus and wanted to finally work on my project car? Somehow, that money ended up going toward new kitchen appliances instead. By the time I rolled into the driveway, it was close to midnight. The house felt off, colder than usual. I walked from room to room, and for the first time, I really started to see things. There wasn't a single photo of my family anywhere. My belongings? Tucked away in drawers or closets, while her stuff was neatly arranged and on full display. Even the coffee machine sitting on the counter, it was the fancy one she picked out, not the basic one I liked. I sat down at the desktop to check my email before heading to bed. Madison keeps her laptop locked with a password, which I always thought was a little weird, but I let it slide. In hindsight, definitely a red flag. Then I noticed she'd left her social media logged in. I've never been the kind of guy to dig through someone's messages. But after everything I heard on that ride, I couldn't help myself. Curiosity turned into disbelief. 1 hour later, I was still reading. Years of conversations between her and her friends. Stuff about me. About how she trained me to give in. How she purposely stirs up fights whenever I bring up things that are important to me. How she and Amanda joke about their projects, me and Amanda's boyfriend. It felt like I was reading about someone else. Or worse, reading about myself through the eyes of someone who saw me as nothing more than a joke. I didn't sleep at all that night. And when the morning came, something in me had shifted. The pain was still there, but underneath it, there was something new. What I felt that morning wasn't fear or sadness anymore. It was something sharper. Something that burned hot, but gave my hands a kind of steady calm. That was the moment I made up my mind. I wasn't going to be anyone's rescue dog anymore. First thing I did was call Jason. I'm definitely going to need a hand with what's coming. Madison's due back Monday, probably expecting her loyal little pet to be sitting by the door, tail wagging like always. Yeah, not this time. Update 1. Man, just wow. Before anything else, I need to say thank you. The amount of support I got on that last post, it hit me hard. In a good way. Ryan Yanniating all those comments from people I've never met. People who just got it. Honestly, that's what helped me get through the weekend without losing my mind. It's now been 5 days since I dropped Madison and her friends off at that high-end spa. 5 days since I sat in that car and heard my wife, my partner of 8 years, call me a rescue dog. And these past 5 days, they've been some of the most brutally honest and revealing days of my life. Ryan, you remember how I mentioned stumbling across her social media messages? Yeah, well, that was barely scratching the surface. After I posted here, something in me snapped. I figured, while she was still gone, I might as well get the full picture. And yeah, I went through everything. I'm not proud of it, but I needed the truth. I checked our shared laptop, went through backups from an old phone, reviewed bank records, everything. What I found made me feel physically sick. Let's start with the money. Turns out, we weren't saving nearly as much as I thought. For the past 4 years, Madison's been quietly funneling cash from our joint account into some private stash I had no clue existed. She wasn't moving big sums all at once, just enough to avoid drawing suspicion. Usually somewhere between $150 and $400 a month. But over 4 years, that added up to more than $15,000. That's our money. Money we agreed was going toward a down payment on a bigger place for the two of us. Next, I dug into our credit card statements, something she always insisted on handling herself. That's when I uncovered even more lies. Turns out, all those sale finds and gifts from her mom were actually just purchases she'd been making behind my back, maxing out our card. And while I thought everything was getting paid off each month, she was only making the minimum payments and telling me we were in the clear. Then I came across something that pushed me over the edge. It was a text thread with Amanda from last year, right after I gave Madison that expensive overnight bag, the one I saved up for and surprised her with. The message read, Madison, just opened Rhiannon's gift. Another overpriced bag to add to the collection, LOL. Amanda, at least he's consistent. Better than Tyler, he got me a microwave. Madison, I trained him years ago. Just act super thrilled about one designer item, and he thinks that's all he ever has to do. Men are so simple. Amanda, you're the master. Teach me your ways. There were hundreds of exchanges like that. Years worth of them. They laughed at me for working overtime to afford the things she wanted. They joked about how she could get her way by freezing me out emotionally until I caved. There were even screenshots of our personal arguments sent to her friends with laughing emojis like it was all some big joke. Saturday morning, I messaged Jason. He came over with coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and listened as I laid everything out for him. Jason's known us both for years. At first, he thought maybe I was blowing things out of proportion. But then I pulled up a video Madison had sent to Amanda a couple months back. It showed me fixing the leaky sink in our bathroom, nothing fancy, just trying to be useful. And there she was, filming me behind my back, mocking my every move, making exaggerated faces while imitating me. You could hear Amanda laughing on the other end of the video call. I looked over at Jason. The expression on his face said it all. That's when it really hit me. I'm not crazy. The rest of Saturday was all about making a plan. First thing we did was head to the bank. I opened a new checking account in my name only and moved over half of what was left in our joint account. I made sure to leave enough behind to cover any upcoming bills. This wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting myself. Next, Jason and I sat down and went over all our monthly expenses. That's when I realized I'd been footing the bill for a bunch of stuff I didn't even use. Subscriptions I never signed up for, meal kits she ordered but I never touched, and her self-care deliveries that cost more than my monthly car payment. I canceled everything except what was absolutely necessary to keep the house running. By Sunday morning, I was on a roll. I called a locksmith and had every lock on the house changed. Then I carefully packed up all of Madison's clothes and personal stuff. I wasn't out to trash anything. I'm not that kind of guy. I rented a small storage unit, paid for the first month up front, and dropped off all her things there. Afterward, I sent the address and access code to her sister, the only one in her family I still have any respect for. Then came the hardest part, telling people. I've never been one for drama, but I knew I couldn't stay quiet. I needed people on my side, or at least to know the truth before Madison had a chance to twist it. So I put together a short, clear message with a few screenshots of the worst things she'd said about me. I sent it to a small circle, close friends, my family, the people who mattered. I didn't post it online or try to make it public. That felt like overkill, but I made sure the people closest to us knew the truth before the story could be flipped. The responses were mixed. No surprise, her friends immediately jumped to her defense. A couple of them called me invasive for reading her messages. Fine. Let them. My family had my back. Even my mom, though she gently asked if maybe we should try couples counseling first. I had to be honest with her. Sorry, Mom, but you don't go to therapy with someone who thinks of you as a pet. That ship sailed. The reaction that caught me totally off guard came from Madison's brother. He called me Sunday night. Said he'd had a feeling for years that something wasn't right. Told me Madison had always been this way, twisting things to get what she wanted. He even apologized for never warning me sooner. Sunday was a blur of her texts lighting up my phone. They started off sweet and casual. Hey babe, having an amazing time. Miss you. Then a few hours later came the confusion. Why aren't you answering? Everything okay? By nightfall, it turned into demands. Pick up your phone. This isn't funny. I didn't reply to any of them. Monday morning, just yesterday, I took the day off work. I needed time to take my life back, starting with the house. First thing I did was move the furniture around the way I like it. Then I took down all that tacky live, laugh, love stuff she made me hang years ago. Ordered a new mattress, too. She used to say mine hurt her back, so I'd been sleeping on my side for years just to keep it comfortable for her. Not anymore. I changed the Wi-Fi password, reset all the streaming logins, and removed her from my phone plan. Went through every account we'd ever shared and cut her access. Even dug out old photo boxes and finally looked at pictures that made me smile, not the polished ones she cherry-picked for the living room walls, but real moments. Honestly, it felt like waking up from some long, heavy fog. Like I was finally seeing clearly after being half asleep for years. And all I could think was, how the hell did I not notice this sooner? Around 3 in the afternoon, my doorbell Kim sent me a notification. There she was, Madison, standing on the porch with her overnight bag, looking confused as hell. I watched through the app as she tried her key. When it didn't work, she started pounding on the door. I didn't open it. She called 11 times in 20 minutes. Left voicemail after voicemail. The tone kept shifting, confused, then angry, then full-on sobbing. The last message just said she was heading to Amanda's and would give me space until I calmed down. This morning, I met with an attorney. The divorce process has officially started. It's not going to be pretty. We've got shared property, some investments, and 8 years' worth of tangled-up life to sort through. But honestly, I just don't care anymore. If starting over from scratch at 35 is what it takes, then bring it on. About an hour ago, she actually showed up at my job. Her mascara was smeared, her eyes all swollen. She looked like a walking heartbreak. People couldn't help but stare. She caused a full-on scene, demanding to know what she supposedly did wrong. She wanted to know why I changed the locks, if maybe there was someone else. I didn't argue. I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm not your rescue dog anymore." The second those words hit, she knew exactly what I meant. Ryan Unite after that, she broke down crying, swearing she didn't mean what she said, claimed it was just a harmless joke between friends, said I was overreacting, accused me of invading her privacy by going through her messages. I didn't respond. I just turned around and went back to work. Ever since, my phone's been blowing up. Non-stop calls and texts from her. Even Amanda, Megan, and Haley chimed in, saying I'm being immature and heartless. That I'm throwing away a 7-year relationship over one little comment. But let's be real, it wasn't just one comment, was it? It was 8 straight years of deception. Madison's supposed to come by the house tonight, says we need to have a serious, face-to-face talk. I said yes, but only because I've got 7 years worth of proof to lay out. 7 years of being treated like some obedient pet whose only purpose was to make her life easier. I don't know what comes next, but for once in a long time, I'm steering the wheel. And man, it feels damn good. Final update. Yeah, I think this might be the last thing I say about all of this. This past week? Absolute chaos. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that went down. Huge thanks to everyone who's been following along and offering advice. You seriously helped keep me grounded when I needed it most. So, where did we leave off? Ryan Unite, Madison was supposed to come by after I changed the locks and had her things moved into storage. At first, she tried to bring her dad with her, like some kind of emotional bodyguard. Yeah, no, that wasn't happening. Eventually, she agreed to come on her own. That afternoon, I spent hours organizing all the proof I'd gathered, bank statements, credit card receipts, text screenshots. I laid it all out across the dining table like a sad little exhibit of everything wrong with our marriage. Before she arrived, my buddy Jason came over and helped me set up my phone to record the conversation. Totally legal here, by the way. I even confirmed it with my lawyer. At exactly 8:30, the doorbell rang. I checked the video feed, and sure enough, it was just Madison. She actually looked composed, nothing like the crying mess she'd been earlier that day. Her hair was done, makeup fresh, and she was wearing that red dress I always liked. Obvious move, she was trying to play me. As soon as I opened the door, the first thing that hit me was her perfume, the pricey one she only broke out on special occasions. She stepped in for a hug right away, but I sidestepped her and just motioned her inside without saying a word. The first 15 minutes were honestly surreal. She wandered around the house, commenting on the updates I'd made, complimenting the new furniture layout, asking if I wanted a glass of wine, like we were just having a normal night at home instead of finalizing the collapse of our marriage. Then we sat down at the table, and she noticed the documents spread out in front of her. That's when the act cracked. Her expression shifted, and the tears came back. She started talking about how she'd made a dumb joke and it got twisted out of proportion. Said I was blowing everything way out of proportion. Claimed that me reading her messages was the real betrayal here. I didn't say a word. I just let her keep talking, letting it all spill out. Once she finally stopped to catch her breath, I slid the stack of bank statements across the table and calmly asked her about the missing $15,000. And let me tell you, watching how fast her story shifted was almost impressive. At first, she said it was part of some secret savings account meant to surprise me with a vacation for the two of us. Then suddenly it was an emergency fund, something her therapist apparently recommended all women should have. But when I pointed out how the transfers lined up perfectly with her shopping sprees and those girls' trips she always took, she snapped. Said she deserved nice things. After all, she put up with me for 7 years. And there it was, the facade was gone. No more pretending. What followed next was like watching someone unravel in real time. For the next hour, she morphed from one emotion to the next, crying, begging, throwing out blame, trying to seduce me, crying again. It was like a drama reel on fast forward. When none of that worked, the threats started rolling in. She told me she'd tell everyone I was abusive. Claimed her dad would ruin me financially. Swore up and down no woman would ever touch me again after she finished poisoning the well with lies. So I calmly picked up my phone and played the audio, her voice, clear as day, joking about the spa car comment, followed by her and her friends laughing. Her face went pale, then flushed red, and then she lost it, grabbed my glass of water and hurled it at the wall. Shattered everywhere. And right on cue, the doorbell rang again. It was Amanda, by herself, and looking like she seriously regretted whatever brought her to my doorstep. Totally unplanned. Turns out Amanda had been sitting in her car just down the block for almost an hour, trying to work up the nerve to come talk to me. The second she stepped inside, Madison lost it, accused her of stabbing her in the back without even blinking. And that's when the real plot twist hit me, something I never saw coming. Amanda hadn't just shown up empty-handed. She brought her own receipts. Screenshots of conversations I hadn't even uncovered, messages Madison sent during that so-called spa weekend. Bragging about hooking up with her boss. Talking about how she was planning to upgrade once he followed through on a promotion he'd promised her. And yeah, there were pictures too. Let's just say they didn't exactly scream strictly professional. I dropped onto the couch and, for the first time in days, I actually laughed. Like really laughed. 7 whole years wasted on someone who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone. Amanda looked between the two of us and asked Madison straight up, why would she do this to someone who had always treated her with kindness and respect? She admitted she'd been carrying the guilt for months. Said it tore her up, watching Madison lie to my face while mocking me behind my back. That stupid spa car comment? That was her breaking point. Madison completely flipped. Started calling Amanda every name you can imagine. Screamed about how they'd been friends for 12 years, how this was the ultimate betrayal. And Amanda? She just looked at her and said softly, maybe we were never meant to be friends that long. Then she left. Madison tried one last move after that. Said she needed some help financially while she got back on her feet. Suggested we could work things out quietly, no lawyers, just a simple separation agreement. Promised she'd sign anything, as long as I gave her access to the accounts again. I didn't say a word. Just handed her my lawyer's business card and walked her to the door. She stood there on the porch, really crying this time. Asked me if 8 years meant nothing. I looked her in the eye and said, they meant everything. That's why this hurts like hell. Then I closed the door. The 2 weeks since? A strange mix of peace and chaos. It's been peaceful in some ways, mainly because I'm finally figuring out who I am without someone constantly nitpicking every decision I make. But it's also been a mess. Divorce isn't easy, especially when the person you're separating from fights you on every single detail. Madison's been pulling out all the stops, trying to sway people in our circle. She's told some that I cheated. Told others I'm spiraling into a breakdown. Most folks aren't buying it, especially after I shared the screenshots, but dealing with the fallout is still exhausting. The money stuff? That's been a full-blown nightmare. She managed to rack up another $3,000 on our joint credit card before I could shut it down. My lawyer says we can add it to the settlement, but man, that still stings. And here's a surprise I didn't see coming. Her dad actually called me last week. I was bracing for a fight, but instead, he apologized. Said he and Madison's mom had spent her whole life enabling her behavior, and he was sorry I got caught in the middle of it all. Honestly, that hit me harder than anything else so far. That's when it really sank in. Madison's not going to change. Ever. It's been 5 weeks since that whole car ride situation. The divorce is finally moving forward. We'll sell the house, and whatever's left after subtracting the money she drained will be split, just like my lawyer said. Ryan, unite now. I'm crashing at Jason's place while I hunt for an apartment. And last night, I went on my first real date since college that wasn't with Madison. It wasn't anything serious, just coffee with someone a friend introduced me to. It was a little awkward, a bit weird being out there again, but honestly, it felt good. Just sitting down with someone who actually wanted to hear what I had to say, that was something. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing for sure. I'm never going back to being anyone's rescue dog again. I've started drawing clear boundaries with everyone around me. Some friends dropped off. Turns out they were only around because of the couple dynamic. But the ones who stuck around? They're the ones who truly matter. And if you're reading this, wondering if you're overreacting in your own relationship, let me be the one to say it. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. You're worth more than being treated like a fixer-upper or someone else's emotional punching bag. As for Madison, last I heard, she's living with her parents, spinning her version of the story to anyone who'll listen. Oh, and that boss she cheated with? Amanda said he bailed the second the divorce mess got real. Turns out, he's married too. Karma's got a sharp bite. Sure, there are still moments where I catch myself missing the life I thought we had. 7 years doesn't just disappear overnight. But then I remind myself of what that relationship really was behind the curtain. And I know, without a doubt, I made the right call. Thanks for listening, Ryan Yanettit. You've been like a therapist through this whole ride. I might not post again unless something big happens, but I want you to know, your support helped me find my backbone when I needed it the most.